All right, we're recording.
We'll call the meeting to order. This is the September 1st, 2020 meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission, Town of Southington. Rob, can you call the roll, please?
Sure. Just a reminder to try and stay muted throughout the meeting to cut down on any background noise. I see I only have one call-in user at this point, so I will not mute that person, but if they can mute themselves on their end, it makes it a lot easier. So again, we'll do a little practice run here with a roll call, and when I call your name, you can unmute yourself, announce your presence, and then go back to mute. So we'll go with Commissioner Gwarick.
Commissioner Gwarick here.
Commissioner Locks.
No.
Commissioner Macchio. Commissioner Macchio.
Sorry about that. Commissioner Macchio here.
Commissioner Volpe.
Commissioner Volpe here.
Alternate Albanese.
Alternate Albanese here.
Alternate Coles.
Alternate Coles here.
Alternate Coviello.
Alternate Coviello here.
Alternate Salvocool. Secretary Santiago.
Santiago here.
Vice Chair Salka.
Salke.
Chair Hammersley.
Hammersley here. We have a quorum. All members are present. If we can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I don't think we have a flag, but we'll have to imagine.
Yeah,
so
it's missing.
You're letting us down, Ron. Anyways, I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If we could remain standing for a moment of silent reflection, please. Thank you. We have the minutes from the last meeting on August 18th. Looking for a motion to approve.
Commissioner Salka makes a motion to approve the minutes.
So a motion for Commissioner Salka. Do we have a second?
Santiago, I'll second.
Santiago is a second. Anyone have anything to add on that? Any revisions? Linda did a good job. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving into item number 7, application 7A, application of Jonathan R. Ubin, attorney for MDB Holdings LLC, to change the zone on property located at 1608 Meriden Waterbury Turnpike from an A1 to a B. Parcel size 1.37 acres. Zone change number 566. Attorney Ubin. Am I saying it incorrectly, or?
It's Aubin. Good
Aubin,
evening, ladies
got
and
it.
gentlemen.
Okay. Hi. Would you go ahead and tell us what you got, and then we'll open it up to questions from commission members. Go ahead.
Sure, I'd be happy to. So I'm from the firm Romano Parker and Associates in Rocky Hill. We represent the developer MDP Holdings LLC. They are seeking a zone change for this parcel at 1608 Meriden Waterbury Turnpike to convert it from an I1 zone to a B for business zone. What they have planned for the parcel is to have a foot convenience store and gas station placed there. This would involve the demoing some of the buildings that are there. There's a couple of Quonset huts and an old farmhouse on the location presently that would have to be removed. We're hoping that this can be a 24-hour convenience store, and we're hoping to bring some commercial growth to an area that we think is underserved. The corridor that's east of I-84 on Route 322 there. We would be looking to perhaps put in a drive-through sandwich shop like a Jersey Mike's. Not necessarily a drive-through, but it would definitely have a sandwich shop or some type of fast food element included in that convenience store gas station combo. There is an existing structure on the That would remain in place. We're looking to retain as many of the tenants that are presently there. There's an auto detailing business that we're looking to relocate, and there's also I believe a tool manufacturing facility back there as well. It's basically we're looking to change it to a commercial zone in order to make that convenience store and gas station a reality.
Okay. Is that it, Jonathan, or you have any more?
That's all I have for now.
Okay. I'm gonna open it up to commission members. I'll just call your names out just to try to keep some rhyme and reason going here. In no particular order, we'll start with Commissioner Santago.
Okay. Thank you. So thanks for having that up there, Rob, because that was kind of my question. So Attorney Aubin, I don't know if you're aware, but we're usually kind of reluctant to give up industrial zones to anything in town. So I for one need to take a good hard look at your proposal. But as I look at this, when I saw the address on the form, it was a little confusing to me. Are there other addresses in this drawing that you have here in regards to, is it only 1608 or is it multiple ones? Because
down here.
when you drive by, it's kind of, and I drove by quick, so I didn't have a good look at it, but it seemed like there's other addresses within this space. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe it's, don't quote me on this, but it's 1606 to 1610, perhaps. So it is a sort of several lots that are combined into one parcel.
So it's not just 1608, so it's 1606 through 1610 that border Mariner Waterbury Road and Clark Street. That's correct, right?
Correct.
Okay. So on the corner, so the kind of, we're going to give up industrial zones. What you put there at this point is incidental because we're really talking about a zone change right now, not what goes into the zone because, we're looking to say, do I do a zone change? It seems like that particular part of the zone kind of precludes or hinders other industrial growth there because you've got the prime spot there. So dominoes would start to fall, I would think, and we would sort of start to give up the rest of the industrial zone there if we grant. So I'm kind of hesitant at this point without kind of going over there and taking a good hard look at doing a zone change there. I'd kind of agree to disagree with your characterization as that strip of land underdeveloped from a business perspective. I think it's very developed on that strip of property on that street. And industrial stuff is come by. Rob, do we know the history of this zone over here in regards to has it always been industrial down that road? Was it business? Do we have any idea about how we got to where we are on this picture?
Rob Phillips, I didn't research the history of this. But it's likely that some of these uses pre-existed zoning, and therefore usually you would place, when you're enacting zoning, you're going to place the zone that reflects what the uses are going to be. So my suspicion is that this has been an industrial area for quite some time.
Yeah.
Judging by the buildings.
Right. And so this is across the street from the Manor Inn, right?
Across the corner, yeah.
From the Manor Inn and across the street from that corner, I think there's a gas station across the street, right?
There is.
Yeah.
Can you see my pointer? My pointer moving?
Yeah. Right.
The gas station is across the street right here. Manor Inn's right over here. And there's a vacant parcel right here.
Right.
At the time.
Right. Truck stops up the road to the left.
Say it again?
Yeah, the truck stop is to the left up the road, up the hill.
Yeah, right. It's somewhere over here, I believe.
Yeah, okay.
Over off the page.
So, Commissioner Santago, I do appreciate your input, and I understand your
Hey,
concerns
Jonathan,
about.
Jonathan,
Yes.
just hold on for a second because what we're going to do is we'll let Peter finish up and then I'll give you an opportunity to answer the
No, you
questions
can.
that he has. Just to
Yeah.
maintain some order. It gets a little difficult during
Yeah.
this type of a format.
Yeah. So have you discussed this with the, I know you have to, by law, you have to set out a notice to abutters, and I see you did that. Have you guys talked to anybody? Like, did you talk to the Manor Inn? Did you talk to your neighbors? Did you talk to them about your proposal, what you're looking to do here?
So my developer, he's been taking the point on that, and he has discussed it with neighbors, and they're excited about the development. And from what we've heard on the street is that they're very excited about it, and they want this to come to the area. I mean, that particular corner across from the Manor Inn, it's got a rundown farmhouse. Those Quonset huts are rather unsightly. We really think this could modernize the block, bring some, much needed light to the darkness at the edge of town there, so to speak, and really, help with the economic development. I know in the town's POCD, a couple of the goals are to promote economic development. We think that this is in line with that goal. To encourage economic development, to provide jobs, provide goods and services, enhance the tax base, continue to be known as a friendly community. These all seem to be in alignment with the goals of the town. And in fact, this particular section in, I believe it's chapter 10 of promote redevelopment, the Milldale area, this parcel is outlined as an area for potential redevelopment, as an area where redevelopment should be encouraged. So again, I think that as the plan develops, as we make our site plan application and everything toward the zoning commission, we think that as we tease out what the goals for the town are, aesthetic and otherwise, that we can reach consensus for the best and highest use for this property, which we don't think is being currently utilized at the moment. And we think that this is, an opportunity not just for my developer, but for the town.
You got to unmute yourself, Peter.
Commissioner Santago, I had to mute you because I'm for some reason getting feedback again. So
Okay, sorry. I should have saw the little red button. I know, for one, I don't know what everybody else thinks. I mean, just for me, I know I'm going to have to take a good look at that over there. I don't remember the Quonset huts. I remember the house on the corner, but I haven't had a good look at the property. I just, like I said, I just drove by to see, where exactly it was. So I know I'm probably going to need a little more time myself to take a good hard look at it for a zone change. I think we take zone changes very seriously. But that's me. I'll see what everybody else wants. I'm done. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thanks, Peter. Jonathan, do you have any other response before we move on to the next person?
I just wanted to say that, although this is a zone industrial area, there's not a ton of growth in industry presently. I think that this isn't so much, an example of spot zoning as an expansion of the existing business sector there. So I think that this would sort of be seamless with what's presently there. We invite competition. We like the fact that there is neighboring businesses, and that would provide competition for the area. And we would really like to modernize this corner and make it as nice as it can be within the town zoning regulations, and really provide a boost for the town's tax base as well.
Okay, thanks. Moving on, Commissioner Coviello, please. Any questions? Joe, you got to unmute yourself.
I thought I was unmuted, Bob.
No.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the document here, it's got the rendering of the Sunoco, and then it's got the property outlined in yellow. So I see the gas convenience store at the front there, but it looks like there's an existing building to the back, where it looks like there's some work you're planning there, addition to existing, and what's the thinking on that back part of the parcel?
So there are tenants presently at that parcel. We want to keep that particular building intact. We want to expand on it to get the most economic use out of it possible. I think we have about 8 or 9 commercial tenants there already, and we're just looking to make those tenants happy.
Now, but that's in the industrial zone there? Currently?
Presently, the whole parcel's in the industrial zone, yes.
So how does that work, Rob? If we have an existing use that's industrial, I mean, is that a consideration here?
Well, it's a consideration for the applicant, because once they change the zone, whatever is existing that may be non-conforming to a business zone would then become a non-conforming use, subject to all the requirements contained in the regulations as far as like any ability to expand or intensify and things like that. So it's really a situation where they should be aware of the limitations they may be placing on their future use of the existing building.
Okay.
And it all depends on what the uses are. There are some uses that are, and I don't know off the top of my head, but some uses that could be an industrial and business, so they wouldn't be impacted. But some that maybe are business-like and it would be benefit to be in a business zone, or maybe some that are more industrial in nature that would be impacted.
Okay. That was my question, Bob. Thank you.
Bill Secho, okay. Moving on, Commissioner Locks.
Just curious, are the people that are in the Quonset hut, and are they going to remain in town doing business?
We are actually seeking to relocate them to the back building there. If there's an auto detailing business that's presently there,
Right.
And we're working with all the tenants right now to keep them happy, and within the parameters of what we have right there. Obviously, the front part of the lot, we are looking to put the convenience store / gas station in that location, but in the back area, that's where we're looking to relocate that auto detailing business.
But those 2 small businesses do quite a big business.
I'm sure. And, we've been in negotiations with them, and they're really excited about this opportunity. They think that it could, draw even more customers to them.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bill Secho?
I'll step up. Yep.
Okay, thanks. Commissioner Gwark.
This is Commissioner Gwark. I was attempting to share a screen earlier, but I hit the wrong button and prematurely was sharing my 30 tabs I have open. But I was just trying to, I had the Southington GIS aerial pulled up, just going, what's in that area, and then, the Google Street, because I know they've tried to basically revitalize that area. I know the gas station across the street's gone through some renovations, and they have that self-storage to the east of your property. So for me, it'd be nice to see something there. I know industrial to business is a tough choice for us, but what you propose, I know we're not talking about site plans now, but it'd be nice to see something new and more modern in that area. So I don't really have any other questions at this time, because I think I've figured most of it out. So
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Commissioner Macchio.
Good evening, Commissioner Macchio. Now, I think I probably would echo what Commissioner Santago said, that I do not like giving up any industrial. I know that area fairly well, having eaten at the Manor Inn many times. I know there's been a lot of changes over in that corner. I was interested that he wants to put up a kind of a gas station convenience, and right across the corner, they put a lot of modifications in over there at that little convenience store, and renovated that in the last year or two. So I don't know if we need both of them right there at that same spot. But again, like Commissioner Santago said, my biggest point would be that we have to give up some more industrial. And we have plenty of convenience stores. We have plenty of drive-throughs. We have plenty of gas stations, and I don't know if that would be, again, I'm not saying what type of business he should or should not go into, but to me, that's a major consideration in changing it later on down the road. Thanks.
Okay. Thanks, Jim. Commissioner Volpe?
Hi, Commissioner Volpe here. Just to kind of echo some of what we've been saying so far, I am a little hesitant, just because if we look at our zoning map from an aerial view, we see that this is technically kind of our last chance to maintain industrial zoning in this area between us and the border of Cheshire. If you look around, a lot of it has already been changed to B zoning. And if you could leave it there, Rob, one of the questions that I do have is these structures that you are going to maintain, the QNOTs in the back. I'm a big fan, early Americana, World War II, very unique to Connecticut. I know these were put in the 80s. So these are considered temporary structures. I'm kind of just wondering what the vision is to redo them. Are you going to demolish them and replace them? Because they're fairly aged. This entire building is fairly aged. It would need some maintenance, but those structures, if I'm not mistaken, are considered temporary structures. And so some kind of plan. And then I have another question as well.
Sure, I'd be happy to address those. So the structure that you're looking at right here on the corner would be demolished. Everything that is a Quonset hut, those are those semicircular structures, those are all going to be coming down. I believe that gray building in the back is the existing structure, which we would be seeking to maintain.
Oh, because it seems like it's like this long L structure that would be right behind the proposed gas convenience store. I'm looking at the rendering of the. I don't know where you're at now, Rob, but
Yeah.
how far did we go? Okay, yeah. So it seems to me like what I'm seeing here, the 60 by 120 structure is actually this red structure to wherever Rob has us right now. I'm just kidding. Yeah, that seems to be on this. So are you saying this is part of the demolition? There will be a new structure?
I would have to address that with my client. I know that there was a structure that he wanted to keep in place, a long rectangular structure, but he did mention that the Quonset huts are coming down.
Okay. So my second question is this was formerly a farm owned by one of the founding families of Southington, the Bradley family. And it's not documented historically on the NRSR state register, but I'm just wondering if there would be any sort of hope if we do this zone change, understanding that it originally was a clock factory that Jason Bradley owned in 1855. And then later on, it was a manufacturing business in the 60s. If we do make these changes, is there going to be some sort of documentation or survey done to at least get that down so that we know that it existed there later on? Or plan for documentation of historical or archaeological resources.
Is this question being addressed to me?
Correct.
That was not part of our plan, but we would be happy to work with the town and make you guys happy in whatever respect. So if you need historical documentation, I don't know how much of that we have access to be 100% honest. Obviously, that farmhouse was probably part of that original farm. The character of the surrounding area has changed tremendously, I'm sure, since that time. But again, we're happy to work with the town, and if it makes you happy, it makes us happy.
Well, I always love hearing that. Thank you. But I do support this too. I do think it's a great way to revitalize this area, as you said, and it does go in with what we have going on and have already approved around it, right? The industrial zone sits on a very thin line right now. So I say to my fellow commissioners, consider that if this goes, this is losing part of that 10% that we have left of industrial area zoning in our town. And that's why I would just want to be sure that if this does go to B, that the history of I is written down. So thank you so much for answering my questions. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Christina. Commissioner Albanese?
Commissioner Albanese, thank you, Chair Hammersley. I don't have a lot of questions at this point. I'm hearing what all the other commissioners are stating. I agree with maintaining as much of our industrial zone as we can. You know, if it gets to a site plan stage at some point, I will have some questions how we can bring in LID for stormwater management. But at this point, I don't really, I mean, I would like to see something happen at this corner, and I'm just wondering if we spoke to Lou Perillo, if there's been any bites on this property for industrial. So I just don't know the history of it from the industrial perspective. Maybe Rob can answer that. But you know, it's kind of weird that, you know, we have this piece of property that nothing's happening with it, and it's just kind of, to me, it's like an eyesore because, you know, there is so much potential with this area, but whether we need another gas station is another story, and that's up to the applicant, I guess, to decide what they feel is appropriate for this location. So that's really it. I mean, I don't really have anything significant. And Rob, if you have any insight on any particular history with this zone, this location for the zone from Mr. Perillo's perspective?
Yeah, no, I did speak with the economic development director. He didn't really have an opinion either way on this application at this time. As far as the history there, I didn't do a historical search on the uses on this property.
Okay.
But by the looks of it, most of this has been there for quite some time.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
And I did, in reference to the historical survey, I did quickly search our document online through the FTP, and that address does not come up.
Okay. Teresa, you all set?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yep, thank you. Commissioner Coles?
Good evening, Commissioner Coles here. So 2 points I just wanted to comment on. So the applicant indicated that there's a tool manufacturer that's already existing on the property as a tenant. I guess one of my concerns is, you know, I always hope that any existing business has the opportunity to thrive and expand. And I know we kind of touched on this earlier, but, you know, I have grave reservations about, you know, making the zone change and then limiting or hobbling to that effect the ability of that business to expand if it is a B zone. So I share the concerns of my colleagues when I say that, you know, moving away from an I zone to a B zone or making that change is concerning because it doesn't grow on trees, so to speak. The other comment I do want to make is, you know, if we are looking for development in this corner or in this section of Merrimack Turnpike, directly across the street, diagonally, is a B zone, and it's a vacant parcel. And so, you know, it seems that if
now I get here, okay.
Thank you. It's ripe for the plucking, so to speak.
The camera doesn't work.
Mr. Bovino, I've muted you twice now. If you could just stay muted.
Thank you, Seth. But I do appreciate the aerial. But just to put a fine point upon my conversation here is that it is there. It's not being utilized. Whereas diagonally across the street is being utilized, you know, in some instances to its potential. I'd like to see that potential expanded on, obviously, within the definitions of what should go into an industrial zone. But I guess I had more comments than questions as I'm kind of echoing what my colleagues had said. And I guess that's all I've got. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, Caleb. Commissioner Salka?
I had a number, but most of them have really been asked and answered. But going back to what Commissioner Cole was saying about that machine shop that was next to the auto detailing, what would really happen with that? That would be classified as industrial, not business, I think. And the building, that large building with the red front and all of the Quonset huts, how is that going to work if they're going to tear that down? What happens to all those businesses that are there now? Do they just go into, limbo until it's reconstructed? Or do they relocate, which I think could be a problem. But again, most of my questions have already been asked. But I'd like to hear about that machine shop that is between the auto detailing and that old farmhouse. What really happens to that if it goes to a B zone?
Okay. Attorney Ubin?
Yes, so if it were converted into a B zone, that would, as Commissioner Phillips has pointed out, be a non-conforming use, so it couldn't be expanded upon. As far as I know, the tenant there is happy with our plans. All the commercial tenants that are presently in that red building, we are looking to retain and modernize that structure there. So I believe either that is, I mean, I would really need to consult with my client, but I believe that we are looking to retain as many of our commercial tenants as possible. The ones that we've consulted with so far are very excited about the plan, including the machine shop owner. They're in support of our petition for the zone change. We've explained to them that this would become a non-conforming use, and they don't seem to have an issue with that. It's more about making sure that as far as the addition to that structure, that wouldn't be an addition of the machine shop so much as an addition to modernize the structure that's presently there and make it more harmonious with the surrounding environs.
I mean, I support the modernization, but I guess this question would be for Rob. When you talk about non-conforming, if that machine shop, if they take that Quonset hut and put the gas station there and they're going to relocate the machine shop, that's not just non-conforming. How does that even fit? How could they do that? Putting in a non-conforming and moving the location. They're not even trying to expand it. They're actually moving location. How would that work?
So if I can just clarify, we're not seeking to displace any tenants. With the exception of the auto detailing shop, which we would hope to move to the back, that large structure, that large rectangular structure, which contains the machine shop, would remain in place. So the addition again wouldn't be to the machine shop itself, but we would be sort of replacing the part of that structure that's old and unsightly, and looking to keep our commercial tenants there.
Well, that leads to a question. Next to the auto detailing, there's another Quonset hut. What's in there?
I believe one of the Quonset huts is the auto detailing place itself.
Right, that's on the left, right.
Right, and then there's like a fieldstone garage in between there, and then yet another Quonset hut. I'm not really sure what that's being used for at this point. I think that might just be vacant or being used for storage presently.
That's all I have for now, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Salka. Hey, Rob, can you do me a favor? Rob Phillips.
We might have lost Rob.
I see him on here. I don't know if he's still there. Anyway, I'll go on. I was going to ask him to pull up the future land use plan that's included in our adopted plan of conservation and development. It's on page 113 for anybody who has it handy. And one of the things that I'm struck by is that, along the lines of some of the comments that were made by a variety of commissioners just before me, is that the industrially zoned land that we have is pretty sparse along the southern end of the town, which is where this would happen. And actually, just to the south of Meriden Waterbury Turnpike, Route 322, this is that whole section that we looked at is the only industrial land that exists along that border. And Commissioner Volpe is correct in pointing out that butts right up against our town line with Cheshire. By comparison to the north end of town, especially over by West Queen Street in that area, really between Queen Street and West Street, which is routes 10 and Route 222, you find a bulk of our industrially zoned land, and that's kind of not surprising because that's where the Pratt & Whitney plant used to be, and other businesses such as that. But as was raised by a couple commissioners, Attorney Ubben, I'm a little bit concerned, and I haven't been shy about this with previous applications, to those of you who know me, about changing an industrial zone, because it is such a high valued piece of property, and one that we don't have a lot of. And as our Economic Development Commissioner has testified in the past, once it's gone forever. The opportunity or possibility of getting that back is slim and none. So I think that's one of our concerns. So I don't know if I know that you mentioned the development of that section of town, and I agree with your perspective with expanding the business center and modernizing that area of town, and specifically that corner of town. And I get it, but what you're asking us to do is no easy ask, in that you're asking us to remove, albeit what you might consider a small section of industrially zoned land, and move that into a business zone. The purposes or what you want to put on there are kind of second in nature, because that doesn't come until later on. We're just looking at this from a zone change application. So I just would be interested in hearing your reaction to that.
Sure, happy to. So I think, one of the things that you pointed out is the parcel is rather small, and it's not exactly uniform in shape. It's only 1.37 acres. I imagine that today's industrial manufacturers, are looking for parcels that are significantly larger. We really believe that, we understand the town's wanting to retain what little industrial area it has. But again, I just don't see a manufacturer, coming to this particular location. It's really ideally suited, given the fact that it's at a four-corner intersection for commercial development. It would be just an expansion of the business zone that's presently there. And again, we think that this is a very rare opportunity for the town. We have corporate partners that are in Sunoco and Jersey Mike's that are ready to, plant their flag at that location. And, again, we really believe in the free market, and we think that this could be a real economic benefit for the town. So I absolutely hear your concerns about, the zone change being a permanent thing. It's not something that is undertaken lightly. But again, what's there is it doesn't reflect well on the town. I think it can be better, and I think that it can be brought into the 21st century and really bring up all the surrounding tenants as well, and bring a little bit more traffic to that area.
Yeah, I just, and I'm not trying to be argumentative. I just, when you bring up that it's, I think I just want to point out that my sense of the commission members, and speaking for myself, I guess, I'm very pro economic development. So that's not really what's driving the hesitation, if you will. I think it's more of what I stated, is that, our plan of conservation and development was adopted just over 4 years ago in 2016. And that plan of conservation and development looked at the town as a whole, and all the zoning in town, and designated certain areas to be certain things. And one of the things that it designated was this piece of property to be an industrial, an I-1 zone. And that's the adopted future land use plan that our town adopted, and is still in effect for probably another 5 to 6 years. So, and that's just kind of where I am. But enough of what I think right now. I think we'll open it up to the public and give them an opportunity to talk about anyone out there who might have an opinion for or against the application. And just like usual, we're going to start with those who are in favor of the application. If there's somebody who would like to speak, this is your opportunity. Jim Grappone, by the way, you are the host. So.
Yes, what I can do is unmute everyone, just so they have an opportunity.
So if there's anybody who'd like to speak in favor of the application, if you could just speak up now so we can give you that opportunity. We'll wait for a minute. It doesn't look like everybody's unmuted, so you're going to have to unmute yourself, please. Okay, I don't hear anybody who wants to speak in favor. If there's anyone out there who'd like to speak against this application, please let us know.
I heard someone.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, there is a chat. Go ahead, just identify yourself so we can make sure we get everyone else muted.
This is Paul Remington, signed in under Joanne Crydell. We live in Rivercrest, the over 55 community behind property.
Your name is Paul? I'm sorry, I didn't get it.
Yes, Paul
Is it Paul? Okay, Paul, could you just wait 1 second while we make sure everyone else is unmuted because we're getting some feedback here. Jim, can you mute everybody else and unmute Joanne, the person identified as Joanne Crydell on here, please?
Isn't that in their zone?
Okay, Paul, let's give it another shot. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So we live at Briarwood, which is the over 55 community behind this property and behind the property at that's a storage unit. And, you know, we've lived here for 7 years, plus my mother-in-law lives in the community, has been here for 12 years. And that particular section, as far as we're concerned, is a dump. I mean, I think the house has been, or that property's been for sale probably 5, 6, 7 times since we've been here. It's a complete eyesore. You know, a gas station is fine. I mean, we'd love to have a CVS or something like that down in this end of the community. But we're fine with the gas station and the Jersey Mike's. You know, I know some of the members haven't come over here and seen it. You really need to see it because, you know, with the Quonset huts and even a property behind the Quonset huts, you know, we walk by this place, you know, because we're working from home now. At lunchtime, we go out for a walk every day and we would go right by it. And something needs to be done to that property. You know, I understand you want to keep it, you know, industrial, but it's just such a big eyesore, and probably the biggest eyesore on 322 anywhere in this area from 84 until, you know, you get up to even the IGA, the new IGA that they just, you know, renovated. Anywhere along that strip, this is the worst looking property. And, you know, we would be all in favor of modernizing that and bringing in, you know, the gas station and maybe a Jersey Mike's.
Okay. Thanks, Paul. Could you just do me a favor just for our transcriber there? Could you just give us your address?
Sure. It's 68 Rivercrest Drive.
Okay. You get that, Linda? She's good. She's got it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. I don't know if any commissioners have any questions for Paul. I think it's pretty self-explanatory what he was saying. Okay. Again, thank you, Paul. Appreciate your input. I didn't hear anybody else speak up, but we'll give it one more try. If there's anyone else who'd like to testify on this, you could just let us know. Jim, if you want to unmute everybody for a minute, please.
Sure.
While we're waiting, I'll just note that there is a letter in opposition that was received yesterday at 4:57. It's included in the packet. It's from Peter Bluto at 1660 Maryland Waterbury Turnpike. So that's in the record. It's a short letter in opposition. For anybody else? Okay, I don't hear anybody, but I think before we close the public hearing, I think that there's been a couple of commissioners who have raised or expressed a desire to get out there and look a little bit more closely at the site. And also, I've heard at least 2 commissioners talk about wanting to know what the history of the zone is or the history of the property and how long that's been an I zone and how that has gone along. So I'm kind of inclined, unless there's there's another thought amongst the commission members to keep this public hearing open and
Mr.
come
Chair,
back.
Rob Phillips is back in.
Go ahead. What's that, Rob?
I said I'm back in. I don't know if the call went over here again. I could not connect to the internet.
It's like I'm listening to Peter Frampton Comes Alive again. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just going through and muting everybody again. I think we're good now.
Yes, that is better. But where I was going, Rob, is I said that, a number of commissioners had expressed a desire to get out there and take a close look at the site, and also a couple of them had mentioned that they'd like to have you or your staff look at the history of this property and its zoning and whether there's been any changes in that section of town. And my note, because I don't know if you heard it, Rob, is that there's not a lot of industrial zone down in that part of town, and I'm just curious about what if it was previously zoned I and when that changed or why that changed, because as you know, the PLCD does designate that as an industrial area in our town. So with that, I'm inclined to keep this open and move on. Is there any commissioner who has any issue with that?
Mr. Chair, Peter Santiago.
Yep, Peter, go ahead.
I have no issue with that. I do have a question though, because as we see on the agenda, it says 1608 Meriden Waterbury Turnpike, but as Attorney Aubin has said, the zone change is really from 1606 to 1610 Meriden Waterbury Turnpike. So should the record accurately reflect that it's not just one address, it is multiple addresses that go across the zone change?
Rob, do we need to do that?
Well, it would be at the risk of the applicant, but certainly if the address description is incorrect, that's a cause for concern. I thought it was listed as 1608, but I'd have to check on that.
Commissioner Volpe, looking at the
Christina, go ahead.
we have here, it says 1608, 1606 to 1618 seems to be it. If you scroll down a little bit on the petition to change the zoning boundaries.
Farmhouse is 1618.
Correct.
Mr. Chair?
Who's that?
Jim.
No, sorry. Hi, Jim. Go ahead.
I believe the assessor's card record indicates the property is 1608. So what they do is they can only, their card only recognizes one address per property. You might have multiple buildings on that property. So I think it's correct as 1608. It's just made up of multiple buildings with other addresses.
Yeah, and we have a copy of the assessor's card in our packet, and it does look like it's one piece of property on that assessor's card. So your point is well taken, Jim. I just don't know administratively if we need to make a modification to that, Rob, or not. Rob Phillips.
No, yeah, I'm just looking at the assessor's card now. It is listed as 1608. So, traditionally when we create agenda items, descriptions, it's going to go off the assessor's database. And I would note that Building 1, Section 1 was built in 1940. So that's predates zoning, one of the Quonset huts.
Peter, are you okay with it?
Peter Santiago, yeah, thank you for the explanation. I get it. All right, no problem.
Do any commissioners have any objection to tabling this and leaving the public hearing open? We'll come back at our next meeting on the 15th, and hopefully with that information, I would encourage commission members to go out there and take a look around. I was out there earlier today looking around, so I have a pretty good idea of the lay of the land, but some of you have expressed a desire to get out there and look at it a little bit further. I encourage you to do that, prior to the 15th. Attorney Lubin, are you okay with what we're doing here?
So you're going to table the vote to the 15th?
we're keeping the public hearing open until the 15th.
That's perfectly fine.
Okay. Okay, so I think I need a motion to get that done.
Commissioner Salka makes a motion to table.
You're supposed to do this during the business meeting, since we're still in open from a Robert Rules perspective, we're still in that part of the agenda, and we should probably do the table as part of the business meeting.
Okay, so the public hearing is just going to remain open.
Right.
And we'll move on to, let me get my agenda out here. We'll move on to item 7B, which is special permit application of LE Real Estate LLC for 2 buildings on 1 lot, property located at 1615 West Street in a West Street business zone. Parcel size, according to the agenda, is 0.65 acres, SPU number 639. Seb, first question I'm going to ask you is, my understanding is the acreage and the size of the lot is actually closer to 2.13 acres. Is that correct?
Yes, it's 2.13 acres.
Okay. So if we could just get the record to reflect that, and Seb, we'll give you the floor. Go ahead.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commission members. My name is Seb Bovino, planner of Cratzer Jones and Associates, represented the applicant. The property was 0.63 acres. It used to be zoned business with off-site parking to the north. Currently, this property is located at 1615 West Street on the east side of West Street. It is used as a restaurant, and it was used as a restaurant for many years. Orientation to the north, we have, to the north and east, we have a large property, 112 acres, farm property. To the south, we have the Central Baptist Church complex. So we're surrounded by those 2 properties, and to the west, we have West Street. The owner, through much effort, was able to purchase the land from the neighbor, the Sepko family, and increase the lot size to 2.13 acres. The zone is now West Street Business Zone. The reason for the purchase was to accommodate the parking that was off-site, was north of the property. So he wanted to bring that parking closer to the existing operation near the building. The application before you is to allow an additional building on the site. Currently, there is a single-family residence and a garage, which are planned to be removed, in addition to the restaurant which will stay. Section 1-09 of your regulation allows this request by special permit. We have provided the area map listing the properties and owners within 500 feet of the subject property. We notified those owners as required and provided proof of mailing to the planning department. We also submitted a full site plan showing the entire property, the new building, and the related infrastructure like parking, drainage, landscaping, etc. There's no additional curb cuts proposed. We are eliminating the curb cut that serves the existing house to the south. The proposed building is to be used for medical office space. There will be a 2-story colonial building with exterior materials that meet the West Street Business Zone requirement. The proposed lot coverage is 11.9%, where in this zone the allowed lot coverage is 40%. The building, as you can see from the plans, is located in the south center portion of the property, which if you stand on West Street would be to your right, to the right of the restaurant where the current home exists. The plan is to have shared curb cuts with the restaurant and shared parking. We believe that the uses are compatible. They actually complement each other. We also submit that granting of the request will not be detrimental for the area and will not prevent the orderly development of the surrounding properties. We are actually eliminating one of the curb cuts that currently serves the house. If there's any questions at this point, I'd be glad to answer.
Thanks, Seb. So we'll go through commissioners just as we did previously. You're used to this now, Seb, and we'll start with Commissioner Santago. Peter, you got
Yeah, I gotta find my mute button.
Yeah.
So, Rob, I had thought West Street Business Zone, you needed a lot of 2.5, and this is 2.1, or am I mistaken? Rob?
He's having technical difficulties. I can answer that for you.
Mr. Chairman. I can answer the question if you.
Because if I go to 4-05.5, minimum lot size shall be 2.5 acres for a commercial mixed-use project.
You're correct, Peter, I believe. That's what the regulation reads. For those of you following along, that's page 14 in section 4 of our regulations.
So Seb, what's up?
What's up is that we were at 0.63 acres, and
Yeah.
we, through a lot of effort, went and purchased additional property, and the farmer, the family sepulchre farmer, would not sell more than what we purchased, because only a few more feet and we would have reached the 2.5 acres. So right now, basically this lot is an existing non-conforming lot insofar as the zoning regulation in terms of lot size. However, in terms of development rights, we have the right to develop according to the standards, which is, let's say, your setback, your frontage, lot coverage, and those kind of things.
So you're
Chair, I'm back in again.
So, Rob, the question I had was, I thought for a West Street Business Zone, it had to be 2.5, and we're at 2.1 for a lot size.
Yeah. So that's a question. I don't know what I missed here, and I apologize. I can't figure out why I'm getting disconnected. But at any rate, the meeting goes on without me. That's a good thing. But as far as the size, that's an interesting question, because as I understand the commission that was in office when this West Street Business Zone was passed, I guess had the intention of incentivizing the acquisition or congregation of multiple properties to get to the minimum lot size of 2.5 acres. I have a little concern with that, because I think it's having that policy could create a situation where you're forcing third-party property owners to negotiate, and if they can't, then they literally could have a partial taking on their hands. However, I leave it up to the commission as far as how you want to pursue that. I'm not sure if you want to get a legal opinion on this, or but I'm getting a lot of feedback and trying to figure out who that is. It might be Houston Tego, so I'll unmute you in a second. So, yeah, so that's really what the commission should make a determination on, is whether you see the need to have properties be 2.5 acres or larger at all times when there's a redevelopment, or if you want a legal opinion to that effect, or the only other options are the property owner would have to seek a variance, which would be a hard thing to prove as far as a hardship, or they'd have to seek a zone amendment, or they'd have to acquire additional property to get to 2.5 acres.
So,
I unmuted you, Nego.
Thank you. So, well, for me, I mean, the regulation says what it says. So it says 2.5 acres. So I can't ignore that. It says what it says. So, I mean, if we were to say, just kidding, or, I can ignore that this time because, well, you're close, then that's quite a precedent to set for any other application that comes up that's kind of close and, well, we like you, so we're going to let you do it. So I'm struggling with that because the West Street Business Zone was put there such that West Street didn't look like Queen Street. And it's there for that reason. So I'm struggling with 2.1 versus 2.5.
Sev, you want to respond to Peter's concerns?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
The difference is not that we took a piece of property and we did a subdivision and we subdivided the lot and made it smaller. What we did here, we took an existing nonconformity, which was in operation prior to zoning, and we increased the lot size. Regardless, we did this, we were planning to do this before the West Street Business Zone came into being. This negotiation is going on for years. The applicant has tried to buy property for the last probably 5 years from the neighbor, and it took some intervention from different people to convince the Sepco property owners to sell a portion of it, and it was very difficult to get what we got. So we did not go and subdivide some and made it non-conforming. We took a non-conforming and made it bigger, and they came close to your current requirements. But we were in existence prior to the West Street Business Zone being in place. So that's the difference here.
So in your mind, because you were talking and negotiating, you're saying you should be grandfathered and that the 2.5 doesn't apply to you. Is that your basic argument?
Well, this lot was allowed to be filed. We filed a map. We took a lot line revision. We did a lot line revision between the property to the north and east, and we filed a map. The planner is aware of this, and we filed it and created this existing non-conforming lot.
Okay.
So we should be granted the right to develop it, and not, look at that as a main issue on this property, because we did not go ahead and create the lot purposely that small. And by the way, it's not that small. It's only a very few square feet less than what's required.
Okay. For me, I think I need an attorney to help me with that one. But so I don't want to belabor that point here. In regards to, though, what you're looking to do here, Seth. So you have sidewalks? I couldn't tell.
We have sidewalks on the existing property, and we're going to expand the sidewalks the frontage, the rest of the property.
Great. So
that was one
great.
of the
Yeah, because that's on West Street. You have to do that. So great. As far as into and out of that property, so boy, and I think this will occur anytime anything happens on West Street. But to go right out of that property is one thing. To go left is going to be something else. Anything added to West Street, I think all of us get concerned unless it's at, the far end of West Street, near Bristol. I think you have some arrows on this thing in regards to into and out of that. Are you looking at both left and right turns? Are you looking at a right turn only? Have you talked about that at all?
At this point, the site plan shows both left and right turns. We're going to have a traffic analysis to report to you on the issue of if there has to be any restriction.
Yeah, because you can appreciate that too, right? Because it's just anything up on West Street, you had anybody or any people there, and that's just craziness to do that. And what would you say is the occupancy of the building? Is it a 2-story building?
Yeah, it's a 2-story building, medical building.
You don't have tenants yet, right? You're just putting up a medical building.
We don't have tenants at this point. As a matter of fact, we haven't done the interior design. I provided an elevation view to the planner for your review, but we don't have a tenant at this point.
Okay.
But he has leased on it.
All right. That's all I have at this time, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Thanks, Peter. Commissioner Coviello? Joe, unmute yourself if you're going to talk.
Yeah, I just did. Sorry, Bob. Took me a second to get off of that. Seb, just to build off of Peter's traffic question there, I think you said it already, but right now the restaurant has 2 curb cuts, and I think the house that we would be taking out has the driveway. You said you were going to close one and open one. Could you just remind me what you said there again?
We're planning to close the curb cut that serves the house right now. Right now, we
Okay.
have the 2 curb cuts with the restaurant and 1 with the house. We're gonna close
Yep.
that one, and planning to keep the 2 curb cuts. When you look at the site plan, you'll see the circulation, how it goes.
Okay, so it's access to the restaurant, additional parking behind, and then the 2-story medical building to the right with
To
parking
the
around.
south, yeah.
Okay, got it. That's all I have, Bob. Thanks.
You all set, Joe? Commissioner Locks?
That's the questions I was already going to ask.
Okay.
So thank you.
You all set? Commissioner Gwark?
This is Commissioner Gork. Sev, looking at just following the other commissioners that stated before about the traffic flow with the turn cutouts around Kava, are you anticipating any issues? I know the restaurant's probably not going to be operating all the same hours as the medical office, but trying to get back and forth to the medical office and people backing out near the restaurant. I'm nervous about bottlenecks with those 2 properties or buildings.
Yeah, we're gonna analyze that in the traffic analysis. But you know, the hours kind of, some of the hours coincide with the restaurant, and the if anything will be within the site. Any kind of conflict, if any, will be within the site.
Okay, it's Commissioner Gwark again. As far as what are you planning for a buffer in front of the medical office building, West Street and the medical office building? Is it just going to be just landscaping and
We're planning
shrubs?
to buffer according to the regulation, which I believe is 25 feet of area to be landscaped.
Okay, that's it for me. Thanks.
Okay. Thanks. Commissioner Macchio?
Hi, it's Commissioner Macchio. I have no real questions. Just to comment again what Commissioner Santiago said. My real concern was when I looked at the reg with the 2.5. So yeah, we need to look at that area, because today if we allow 2.1, next month it's 2.0, and then it's 1.9. Then why do we have regulations? So we definitely need to look at that. And thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Jim. Commissioner Volpe?
Commissioner Volpe here. Thank you. Yeah, I am just wondering a little bit about that traffic study. I expressed some of the concerns echoed by my colleagues. I also do want to bring up that this is not to be a broken record, but this is a historic farming parcel within our community. One of the last couple ones that we do kind of have so many acreages on. So I would be concerned with wanting to just review some of that, understanding that the West Street division in our regulation does outline, I believe it's 4-01D, that kind of talks about the history of this area. And I do see that there are stone walls not far away, which we don't usually consider to be anything, but I want to see the traffic study. And I do express some concerns about losing some of that Sepco farm parcel acreage, because it's been there for a really long time and was owned by Polish Russian immigrants. So I think that's cool. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thanks, Christina. We appreciate your expertise in bringing it to the commission, so don't ever apologize for that. Sev, I don't know if you wanted to comment on Commissioner Volpe's comment.
The property, the Sepco property is 112 acres. We only bought a small portion of it, so we're not touching any of those features, other than the fact that we are going to knock down the house and the garage that's there. But if the stone wall exists around the property, will stay.
Okay. She also brought up a traffic study. You have anything underway right now, or?
Yes. Yeah, it's just a matter of time. It takes time to get the traffic study.
So it hasn't been completed, is what you're saying, but you do have it actively
we
being worked on.
We plan to submit that for the site plan.
Okay. Commissioner Albanese.
Commissioner Albanese, thank you. I appreciate Commissioner Volpe's comments. I know in New York State, a lot of the rural communities, the stone walls are definitely significant historically. So it's kind of interesting that you brought that up. But I guess I have just to merge into some of my comments. I'm a little bit worried about the circulation plan internally. There appears to be 2. I understand you're maintaining the 2 curb cuts. This is a state highway. I see that you have 2 entrances and 1 shared one entrance that's solo, and then one entrance that's a shared exit as well. I could see there being significant issues with that. That's the northernmost entrance, and then I could see the circulation being an issue internally. And I guess my other question is more of a kind of like an out of the box question. If this does get approved through special permit, and it is approved through that there's going to be a proposed 2-story building, medical office, at that point, could there be a change of use? Could the applicant or the owner come back with a change to that particular medical office proposed use and say that they want to change it to something else? I don't know how that goes with the regulations, Rob, but if you can give me some insight, like say they get it approved, could they come back with a change of use for that particular new structure?
Yeah, Rob Phillips, I called in now. Now I've got my kid's computer I'm trying to make work for me. So I called in on my phone right now. I can't see or control the meeting, but what was the question about the zone change?
Do a change of use on this if we approve the special permit
For the for CAVA, for the medical office building?
Yes.
Yeah, well, assuming that moves forward, I mean, the special permit itself is going to dictate what's approved, and anything that changes from there on out would have to get a modification to that.
Right. Okay. I was just curious because I thought maybe it just seems like there's 2 different uses going on here, and it doesn't seem like compatible.
Right.
But
And I was originally I was under the impression that it was supposed to be a banquet facility, an event facility at some point associated with the Cava restaurant, but now it's a medical office building. So they're 2 completely different uses coexisting on one lot. I'm not sure what the change was. I missed most of everything because I was fighting with these computers here.
Right. And I think Mr. Lovino said that he didn't have any potential tenants at this point, but I guess because we're early on the stage here. But I guess my last question would be then, would there be, I mean, I really am concerned about the traffic and trying to get out of, this parcel and these uses onto West Street. Any left turn would be hazardous, to say the least. Would there be a need or requirement would the traffic study potentially indicate that there would be a need for a traffic light at this location?
Well, that kind of level of at this point in time, when you're looking at hold on, I'm so distracted right now trying to get this thing to work over here on this computer. But a traffic study, didn't they produce a traffic a statement at this point in time? If they haven't, they should.
No, there isn't one. Sev indicated that's underway, and he hopes to have that for us sometime soon. But if I could take a shot at answering Teresa's question, and Rob, correct me if I'm wrong here, but the presence of a traffic light, given that this is a state highway, is really up to the State Traffic Commission. Likewise with the right turn only, and just by way of some analogy, if you will, or history, the Planning and Zoning Commission did a couple of years ago, and I know Sue and maybe Peter remember this, when we approved the Dollar General store down by the Bristol line, we did require that they only have a right turn only lane exiting that property for the very reasons that we're bringing up here. What ended up happening there is that the State Traffic Commission overruled us, which they have the right to do, and that part of the approval was or that stipulation on the approval was removed, if you will. So we can say that we want a right turn only, but ultimately it's up to the STC on whether that actually happens.
Correct. They would have to make a determination that a traffic signal would be warranted.
And there are traffic lights on both to the right and to the left of that property. Probably, I'd have to say probably 200 to 300 yards on both sides.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Commissioner Albanese. I have no more questions or comments. Thank you.
Thanks, Teresa. Commissioner Coles?
Good evening, Commissioner Coles here again. I had 2 points I wanted to make. One, I want to add my voice to the chorus of concerns about the parking lot itself with another business situated in there, especially trying to pull out of the parking lot and how that would cue into trying to get back onto West Street and people trying to back out of their parking spaces themselves. But I think that one's been addressed enough. The other point I wanted to make is something that Sev had mentioned, that this parcel was purchased on the intention of adding additional parking spaces for the restaurant. As many of us have seen going up West Street, the restaurant has annexed the additional SEPCO property to the north for parking. I don't know what that arrangement may be, but my thought would be that if you're going to use parking on your own land, use parking on your own land. Building another building on there is just going to add more challenges to trying to get enough parking spaces to an already packed business, which I'm grateful that they're packed. But if that was the point of buying the land, then use it for parking. I don't think that it's helpful to have a larger building on there that's going to bring in. I'm grateful for the business, but I think it's at odds with what you just told us that you were trying to do. That's my comment.
Sev?
Yeah, I want to respond to that, if I may. The purpose was to purchase the property to accommodate parking that was north of this building, and people had to walk on the side of the road to get to the facility. But that does not mean that the entire property had to be dedicated to the parking for the restaurant, because it's quite a bit of property, and we do not need all those spaces just for the restaurant. And there is shared parking all the time. Shared parking is allowed under the regulation between businesses. So that's what we're planning to try to utilize the property, the best utilization of the property. We can't just put all the entire 2.1 acres to parking, because we don't need it just for the restaurant. It's basically the best use of the property.
Okay.
And Mr. Chairman, if I may, at this time, is before you, the question is, are these two buildings compatible, and can they live together? The rest of the issue, traffic and turning movements, we will take care of that as site plan. We provide the traffic study and whatever else we need to do. So if we can have your decision on the issue of two buildings on one property, that would be good.
No, I think, Seth, that one of the questions that's been brought up by a couple people is the proposed lot size and whether that's out of consistency with the requirement under the regulation for 2.5 acres. So I think at the very least, what you're looking at is us reaching out to the town attorney and getting a legal opinion on that. And I can't remember who it was, whether it was Commissioner Santago or somebody else who brought up that, today it's 2.15. Tomorrow, I think it was actually Commissioner Macchio who said this. Tomorrow it might be 2.05. And if we start down that slippery slope, what are we looking at? Because ultimately we're setting a precedent, whatever we decide to do. So I appreciate that you would like to get action taken on this, but I think that what you're looking at is probably that not happening this evening, and more likely it will be happening at our next meeting on the 15th at the earliest. So to your point, but I understand what you're saying. Turning and layout and that type of stuff is more of a site plan concern function, if you will. But I think too that it bodes you well, as I know you do very well, Sev, to listen to those comments and be prepared to answer those when that site plan does come to us, assuming that this special permit gets approved. So Commissioner Coles, do you have any other question for the applicant?
I just wanted to comment one more piece about that parking and the overflow. The parcel to the north is about 1.5 acres. The parcel that was added on to the south is about 0.5 acre, 0.6 something or another. So if that top space is being utilized extensively to satisfy the needs of the restaurant, we still might be pretty packed in just to park in that newly added space to the south. So I just wanted to kind of point those two differences out with the volume of area that is allowed for parking. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Caleb. Commissioner Salka?
Basically, I have two questions. One would be concerning the two curb cuts. One of the questions we had when we were talking about the West Street zone was that the hope was that as this thing, as it develops along West Street, because of the traffic problems, that there would be some kind of an access road network behind some of these buildings. So you'd have like a single curb cut with the access road behind them, and then that would feed into all of these various businesses that may end up popping up onto West Street. And if that would be the case, would we be able to eliminate both of those curb cuts at that point sometime in the future? And if this did get approved, could we put that as a stipulation if in fact we decide to go forward with it? I know there were a number of valid comments concerning the 2.13 versus the 250, and I agree with that 100%. That we should look at that, and we should get an attorney's some kind of an opinion from the attorney. But so on the curb cuts, I'd like to ask Seb that, and also when you're doing the traffic study on West Street, isn't the state also doing some kind of a transportation corridor study that they have postponed because of the COVID, et cetera? And how would the traffic study that Seb is doing tie in with what the state might be doing on that transportation corridor study? And maybe that's for Rob, and maybe Seb can talk about the curb cuts.
Commissioner Salka, I'll take a shot at some part of that. We did, the Planning and Zoning Commission did about 3 years ago recommend to the town council. The town council approved, and long story short, there is a consultant's been engaged, an active study of the transportation corridor along West Street. That study is underway. The status on whether that's moving forward or not, I wouldn't be surprised if it's delayed by the COVID thing, just like a lot of other things are. But that study, the findings of that study have not been presented. I'm not even sure whether they've been drafted or not. Rob would know more, and Jim Macchio, who's our representative out to the COG there, might also have some information, but I haven't heard anything in the last 6 to 10 months, if I had to guess. Jim or Rob, you have anything?
Yeah, Rob Phillips. I have. I'm still on the phone call with the cell phone, but I do have a video up, so I'm able to run the meeting just as an aside. But you're not going to see me because there's no camera on this computer. But anyways, with regard to the study, I checked in with Christian Meyer from NV COG, was kind of our contact liaison, and you're right. The coronavirus pause kind of put the brakes on everything for a while, and when I checked in with him, he indicated that they were about ready to restart and they get going again. So I expect to hear more news in the next month or so.
Okay, and Commissioner Salka, I don't want the first part of your question to go unnoticed, and I look for Sev to respond to that. And Sev, just if I can paraphrase Bob Salka's question about removing the curb cuts and some future plan to allow for cross easements in the back part of that parcel. That is part of the West Street Business Zone. Talk specifically to that goal. So interested on your thoughts on that. Got to unmute yourself, Sev.
Mr. Chairman, the road that we are talking about is parallel to West Street, and it's, I believe, over 400 feet. It's designed to be over 400 feet from West Street. Our property, the back of our property, does not reach that location. It would be additional easements needed from that future roadway to reach our property to be able to make things work. But I would assume that the applicant cannot commit today to close both curb cuts to something that's unknown. It would something that he will consider later, but right now he cannot. I'm sure he can't unless he sees the design. The property next door, a large property, we don't know how that's going to be developed. It could be developed as a single user with a big building in the back and with a large parking area with a couple of pads in the front. We don't know that at this point.
Commissioner Salka?
No, I'm not asking Seb to make that kind of a decision now or the applicant. I guess I'm just sort of throwing that out there from a future standpoint and saying if there is this cross access to the rear of the property for all of the buildings that are going to go into this WSB, I just want to make sure that, you know, Seb is aware of that and concerns, something that perhaps we could put in, if it gets approved, we could put it in there as a stipulation for some future period of time. Understanding that, you know, Seb can't commit to that now, but we could word it in such a way that I think that would meet the approval of the applicant and with Seb.
Seb?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I would have to see the stipulation. I'm sure the client is interested in that and the client's attorney. But I would say generally, probably we're not going to agree to close both curb cuts. If there is anything we can do, most likely it will be to keep one curb cut, but not to close both. You're really creating a problem for this property in the future, just to be honest with you. But definitely, if there's going to be a parallel road, the client, I'm sure, is interested because anything that makes the traffic easier would be beneficial to his business. So it's not a negative thing. But the neighbor's owner, the future owners, they would have to agree to allow an easement which extends further than just the future road that we're talking about.
Okay.
It could be impacting their development. I don't know.
Okay. Commissioner Salka?
Thank you.
Also, okay. Seb, refresh my memory. I can't recall if I saw it. I don't have the plans in front of me right now, but what's the lot depth on this piece of property?
I'll get it. If you can, let me get it right now.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm back. 220 feet straight from West Street back.
Okay.
Approximately.
Under section 4-05.5, it states that the minimum lot depth needs to be 400 feet. So do you have any comment on that?
What's the section that you're referring to?
4-05.5D. This is the West Street Business Zone.
I think
it states that the minimum lot depth is 400 feet. And I think that's probably what facilitated that access road going back 400 feet.
Yeah, but we don't have that property. That's the problem. And we didn't control the property. We are in existing condition. And I don't know if the 400 is related to the frontage. I thought that was 400 feet of frontage.
No, it's not. The minimum front yard setback is 75 feet.
No, the width, the lot width, I believe is 400 feet. And if you had a large piece of property, you could put a road parallel to West Street. It has to be 400 feet back, or any residential area past that.
Well, let me read from section 4-05.5B. Parcels shall have 400-foot frontage on West Street or a minimum of 50 foot of frontage on an approved internal access road that provides access to 2 or more individual lots. So I think, and I just raised that because it's another part of the West Street Business District, which again was put into place, I think, in 2013. Actually, about 7 years ago to the day, August 3rd, 2013. And that's part of that as well. So it seems like that, along with the 2.5 requirement for acreage, seems to be a question that we probably want to gain some legal opinion on our side to make sure that we're not going down a slippery slope that's going to undercut the intent of the adoption of that West Street business zone. And I, for one, I think that the establishment of that business zone was a good thing of trying to prevent this corridor from becoming what I've heard about, and I'm sure that a lot of the other commissioners have heard about from town residents of the problems on Queen Street, which we deal with on a weekly basis, if not a daily basis. So, but again, I as I said earlier, I think that we're looking at trying to reach out to Jeremy and getting some input from him on this, and hopefully he can have that for us for the September 15th meeting, and we can do something then. But that's just another part of it that I think is a concern. So if you want to respond to that, Sev, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't have any objection to for the town staff and the commission to consult with the town attorney. And we'll be glad to have our attorney, provide information to him and work together on this. I'll check that requirement that you just, but I thought was the 400 feet, it's frontage, not depth. And I thought that's what you read from the regulation, because if you take 400 feet wide and 400 feet deep, it gives you 3.7.
That's my kid, guys. This is the bonus of the remote meeting. So anyway, sorry, Seth.
So anyway, we'll look into that, and I appreciate your cooperation on this matter.
Yeah, I mean, you can read the zoning regulation as well as I can, and I'm sure you're familiar with it. So just maybe another review of that. And again, just trying to get a legal opinion on that, I think is something that is in everyone's best interest here. So, but let's open it up to members of the public. If there's anyone out there, and Jim Grappone, I think you're still acting as a host here, if I'm not.
No, I'm here.
Yeah, okay.
I'm here.
I see you up there, but I don't see you, so I'm thrown off a little bit, Rob. But if there's
what
any,
it is that I have no video or sound on this my kid's Chromebook, so that's why you can't see or hear me. So I'm calling in, but I'm able to see you and I'm able to mute people. So that's the important part.
the trials and tribulations of remote public meetings. If we have any members of the public who'd like to speak in favor of this application, if they could do so at this time. I see we got a Jim Zagas who's waving his hand adamantly. So if we can unmute him and let him talk. Rob?
So what's that?
Jim, it looks like you're still muted. I can't tell, but just make sure you're not.
Jim, you're all set. You're unmuted.
He's not unmuted.
He's a call-in, Jim. He's one of the call. His video is one way, but he has a call-in. I don't know what call-in user he is.
Okay.
Try that.
Oh, and Rob Phillips again. I do notice that actually that Jim Capone is the commander at this point in time. So take it away, Jim.
Now you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Jim, will you call her too?
He's still muted.
I'm showing caller 2 is muted on my screen.
Well, all the callers look like they're unmuted.
Not caller 2. Call-in user 2 needs to be unmuted.
Are you able to do that, Jim?
Hang on 1 second.
Can Jim Zagas unmute himself? Is he able to do that, or does that not work?
I think, Rob, I think you're the host, so I can't unmute. Sorry about that.
No. It's just now I'm going slow and I can't I obviously, anybody who can hear me, I'm going to have to sit at work for the next meeting because this Wi-Fi connection with this with anything here is becoming unreliable for me the last 2 meetings. I don't understand what the problem is. I don't know whether the whole neighborhood's on the internet right now. So I'm kind of frozen here. I can't unmute anybody at the moment.
See, Rob, in Southington, we don't have that problem.
I haven't had the problem. It's been the last meeting in this one. I just don't understand it.
It's Commissioner Volpe here. Are all the kids streaming on the internet right now? Is everyone else using it?
Maybe.
Check somebody.
I had an internet test that I did here, and the signal was strong, so I don't know what the problem is.
Hey, Rob, is the caller allowed to unmute themselves? Is there any way to allow that to happen?
Yeah, if they were unmuted in the system, they can mute and unmute themselves on their end. But unfortunately, if you're muted in the system here in WebEx, then there's no way you can unmute yourself. Zoom, you can allow that, but WebEx you can't. I've never liked WebEx really for our public meetings, public hearings. I'd rather use Zoom, but we're not allowed to use Zoom at this point.
Jim's holding a sticky note up there, which is kind of blurry a little bit. Jim, can you try to talk just to see if we can hear you? I can't hear anything. Tim, do you recognize the chat function on this?
Yeah, if you can use the chat function.
If you want to use the chat function, just trying to work around it here.
If he's only a call-in, he doesn't have the ability to even select the chat function.
Well, he's both. He's a call-in and a video. It's just his mic isn't working on his computer.
Chairman, it's Commissioner Gwarek. Rob, if you leave, does it automatically default to Jim Grappone as host? I'm not saying I want you to leave. I'm just saying maybe we could.
No,
troubleshoot.
I'll leave the. Hopefully it does. I'll leave the video portion. I'll still be on the call. The call's not a problem, but I'll do that. I'm gonna have to refresh this anyway.
Yeah, it looks like it did. So, Jim Grappone, are you able to unmute?
I think Jim is on now.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Well, there's Jeff Gwark figuring it out, man. You get a gold start today, buddy.
All right.
Go ahead, Jim. Take it away. Give us if you could just identify yourself and your address, please.
Yes, James Iogas, 104 Bellevue Avenue, Bristol, Connecticut. I represent the applicant on this application. And Seb did a great job of bringing to your attention all of the salient points. I just wanted to kind of touch on a couple of different issues that were raised. One of the easy ones was one of the commissioners had requested or asked a question, if we decided to change the use regarding the special permit, could we do that? And the answer to that is you'd have to come back to the commission and revise your special permit for whatever other use you wanted to employ on that site. The second issue regarding traffic and regarding turning signals or turning lanes on the highway, on the state highway, that is going to be controlled by the state of Connecticut. So no matter what we try to do and what we try to sell, the state of Connecticut is the final arbiter on that, and they will determine whether or not left turn or right turns are available to us. The third thing, and this is dealing basically with your regulations, the chairman was correct about the depth of the property being required to be 400 feet and the frontage required to be 400 feet. But if you do the math on 400 by 400, you'll see that the lot size is not 2.5 acres. It's something in excess of that. Yeah, so it doesn't make sense that the regulations can be applied that way unless you look at the regulation and you say to yourself, in this particular case, the regulation doesn't apply because we have an existing non-conforming lot, okay? And what we did was we took a 0.67 acre lot and we made it bigger. We didn't make it smaller, we made it bigger so that we were less non-conforming. But the lot is a legal lot, and therefore we should be allowed to develop it. And I think when you refer this to Jeremy Taylor, that's the question we need to ask him. And in your regulations under 4.405-5, you'll see that the last sentence of paragraph A reads, pre-existing lots that do not meet the minimum acreage under this regulation shall become legal non-conforming upon the enactment of this regulation. So I think that's the applicable language that we should be looking at. And what it tells us is that this lot was a legal lot when this zoning took place, and now we've made the legal lot a little bit bigger, not smaller. Therefore, it continues to be legally existing, and we should be allowed to develop it under the current regs. So that's the way I view this from a legal standpoint. Again, I don't represent the town of Southington. Jeremy does, and Jeremy's going to have to render an opinion to satisfy some of the commissioners.
Jim, are you an attorney, Jim?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that I understood where you're coming from. Yeah, and I think all your points are well taken. I just think from a commission standpoint that we're looking for some input from our representative, if you will, and getting some clarity, because the way that we look at this, whether it's correctly or not within a legal arena, I think anyone on here is an attorney, so we're looking for our legal person to give us an opinion on that. So.
Yeah, and I think that's prudent. And I think if you look up and down West Street, I'm sure that there are other lots on West Street that are less than 2.5 acres. And you couldn't go to those people and say, hey, sorry, you're out of luck, you can't develop those lots. They are existing lots, they're existing non-conforming lots, and they still should be allowed to be developed. Now, you can encourage them to merge if you want, but you can't force them to merge. And therefore, that existing non-conformity protects them.
Okay. I understand. Yep. Anything else, Jim, or you all set?
I'm all set, thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, is there any other member of the public who'd like to speak in favor of this application? Jim Capone, if you could just unmute everybody just so everyone can talk. Is there anyone out there who'd like to speak in favor of this application? I don't hear any. Jim, leave them unmuted. Is there anyone out there who'd like to speak in opposition to this application? I don't hear any. I think we're going to leave this public hearing open. As I said earlier, I think we're going to reach out to our town attorney and get him to weigh in on the regulation and how it pertains or looks at this. So, Jim, if you want to mute everybody up again, as we're getting some.
Doesn't matter. It's not fine.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Chair Hammersley, we can't hear you right now.
Oh, I'm unmuted now. Okay. Can you hear me now? Give me a thumbs up. Okay. Moving, what I said is that we're just going to leave that public hearing open under 7B, waiting for our town attorney to weigh in and give us some direction on that. Moving on to the business meeting portion of the agenda, item 8A, application of Jonathan Ubin, attorney for MDB Holdings LLC, to change the zone on property located at 1608 Merida Waterbury Turnpike from an I1 to a B zone, parcel size 1.37 acres, zone change number 566. I think that we're looking for a motion to table this application.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion to table ZC 566.
Do we have a motion from Commissioner Salka? Do we have a second?
Peter Santiago, I'll second.
We have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 8B, special permit application of LE Real Estate LLC for 2 buildings on 1 lot, property located at 1615 West Street in a West Street business zone, parcel size, it says on here again, 165 acres, special permit number 639. We've determined that's actually 2.13 acres for the record. I think we're looking for a table on this.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion, we table SPU, SPU 639.
Motion from Commissioner Salka. Do we have a second?
Peter Santiago, I'll second.
Second from Santiago. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to item C, Alley Real Estate LLC site plan modification application for a two-story office retail building, property located at 1615 West Street in a WSB zone, parcel size, again, 165 acres, SPR 1802. Seth, do you want to talk about this?
Briefly, Mr. Chairman, Seth Bovino, planner of Kratzer Jones, represented the applicant. The property is 1615 West Street, currently used as a restaurant. It's served by public water and sewer. A site plan application was submitted. Based on what transpired in the previous public hearing, I would say at this time it would be prudent to table it. We received comments from the planner and the engineer. We responded to most of the planner's comments, but the town engineer's comments, we're still working on it. So it would be prudent to table this. And if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer at this time.
Okay, I think a lot of the questions were raised in the earlier public hearing, but I'll open up to commission members. I'm not going to call them by name, but if they have a question, if they can just unmute themselves and identify themselves. I don't see any, so I guess we're looking for a motion to table this item.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we tabled at SPR 1802.
Motion made by Commissioner Salka. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Santago is a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Item 8D, Kratzer and Jones and Associates, site plan applications for expanding the building size, add a drive-through, and increase the number of pumps. Property owned by Sunrise Southington LLC, located at 11 Marion Avenue in an I2 zone, parcel size 0.62 acres. Special permit application number 1801. This was tabled from our last meeting. Sev.
Mr. Chairman, good evening again, commission members. Seth Bovino, planner of Kratzer Jones, represented the applicant. At the last meeting, the commission expressed interest in relocating the dumpster area, which was on the east side of the building next to the river, and also look at the propane tanks and the parking agreement. We were able to relocate the dumpster to the rear of the property, the northwest corner of the property, away from the river, and place the propane bottles where the dumpster was proposed, by in a smaller area, much smaller area, to the right of the drive-through. The applicant decided to reduce the office space on the second floor from 3,000 to 2,250 square feet to reduce the number of spaces required. So currently we are meeting the requirement of the spaces without taking into consideration those 3 spaces on the east side, because we were not sure that we could reach an agreement with the property owner. So we're not counting that in our traffic on our parking count, and we are meeting the regulation by reducing the square footage proposed.
Okay.
Jim Grappone had the question regarding the floodplain area in that vicinity is 147.4. The lowest grade at the pumps is 150.2, and the building itself is at 152.8. So it's way above the 1 full minimum requirement above the floodplain. That was his concern. As indicated, we are trying to serve the current clients better due to the virus concern and to meet current business standards to keep the business going. We provided a traffic report as requested, indicating that the queue for the drive-through is at least 14 cars. Scott Haskett, the traffic engineer, conclusion is that the traffic volumes can be readily accommodated and that the driveways provide sufficient capacity for any increase of traffic. Any questions at this time?
Sev, I'm just going to turn to Rob Phillips. I know that you submitted a revised site plan. I don't know when that was done. I think it was done yesterday, but Rob, Sev just mentioned about the parking the reduction in the size of the building, does that show on the plans?
It shows on the table.
Rob, you're gonna have to unmute.
Sorry. Let's see. I'm trying to pull this up. Site plan
It's on the
revised.
table, Rob.
If you could just comment on that, Sev, real quick, while I try to work this thing.
Yeah, the reduction was shown on the table. The building is the building, but the second floor was reduced, and the reduction is indicated on the table of the building proposed, and then it's reflected in the parking requirement. So it says that the office space upstairs is 2,250 square feet.
And what was the original?
3,000.
And the total parking count was reduced from what to 22, I believe, right?
Yeah, to 22, which is the required number of parking. And we chose not to deal with the property owner and just reduce the scope of the project.
What was your original parking count number?
25 or 26, if I remember correct. And we were counting, at the time, we were counting the loading area, which now is provided, and we're not counting the loading area in this count. So we actually have 23 spaces, but one of them is a loading area. But we are meeting the regulation with the 22.
We can verify that on a zoning permit as well, too. I just I can't access the document right now.
Okay. Jim Grappone, I thought that one of the questions that, I don't know if it came from planning or from your group, had to do with the loading area. Am I recalling that correctly, or?
I believe the comment came from planning and zoning, Mr. Chair, and it was on the revised plan, the loading area shown.
Okay. Okay, let's go through the commission members and see if there's any questions. We'll start with Commissioner Santago.
No, I think our questions had to do with whether or not you had your agreement with your neighbor, and you didn't do that. So I think by reducing the size of your project, you got your parking and you moved the dumpster. So I think, as I recall, that was the whole thing why we were talking. So if you did that, then I'm fine.
Okay. Thanks, Peter. Commissioner Coviello?
Banana, Bob. Thank you.
You all set? Commissioner Locks?
So happy that is going to work on this better with the less parking. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. So Commissioner Gwark?
This is Commissioner Gwark. Addressed everything. Propane was one of my concerns, and then the dumpster being moved, and the parking. So, yep, all good.
Okay. Commissioner Macchio?
It's Commissioner Macchio. No, everything is fine. He's addressed all of our concerns, so we should be able to move ahead with this. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Jim. Commissioner Volpe?
Commissioner Volpe here. Yes, I really appreciate what you did with this. Thank you for the dumpster. I'll feel a lot better when I'm throwing things away when I'm there. So this is great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Christina. Commissioner Albanese?
Commissioner Albanese, no, I have no further questions. Thank you, Sev.
Thanks, Teresa. Commissioner Coles?
Commissioner Coles, I have no questions. Good luck.
Thanks, Caleb. Commissioner Salka?
Commissioner Salka has no questions. Thank you.
Wow, look at you, Sev. Look at what you did.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, good job. Let me just make sure, Rob, all your questions have been answered satisfactory?
Yes, correct.
Okay, Jim Grappone, all your questions have been answered satisfactory?
Yes, the applicant has addressed it.
Okay, you've had a look at the stormwater management report that was submitted and you're satisfied with that?
Yes, it's actually a reduction in impervious area, which is a good thing.
Good job, Sev.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else. I think we can, I'll just say that I think, Sev, that this is just a illustration, a great illustration of working collaboratively to address problems and issues with revising an application to meet the zoning regulations. So I applaud you and your developers on doing all the work to satisfy those things that we brought up 15 days ago or so. So with that, I guess we'll call the roll.
Okay.
Do we need a motion?
Yeah, we need a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, there we go. We need a motion.
Commissioner Salka make a motion to approve. Commissioner
Go ahead.
Salka makes a motion to approve SPR 1801 as submitted.
Motion from Commissioner Salka. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Locks. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I just want to make sure it's clear that advised Commissioner Salka. That's what you intended, right?
That is correct.
Do we need to state that, or are we okay? We
No, I think we get on the record.
Okay. And you're fine with that, Sue?
Yes, I am.
You're fine with that motion? Okay. Hearing no further discussion, Rob, can you call the roll, please?
Glorick?
Commissioner Gwark, yes.
Locks?
Commissioner, yes.
Macchio?
Commissioner Macchio, yes.
Volpe?
Commissioner Volpe, yes.
Centego?
Centego, yes.
Salka?
Commissioner Salka, yes.
And Chairman Hammersley?
Hammersley's a yes. Motion carries 7-0. Good job, Sev.
Thank you.
Appreciate your hard work and good luck with this. I think it's a good thing. Moving on to item 8E, a transfer an aquifer protection registration located at 1223 Meriden Waterbury Turnpike. I don't know if I turned to Rob or to Jim Grappone on this.
Well, I can start off real quick. Rob
Yeah,
Phillips,
go ahead.
the Planning and Zoning Commission also wears another hat called the Aquifer Protection Board, and any type of use that's deemed to be on the list of uses by DEP has to have a registration approved locally through the Planning and Zoning Commission wearing that hat. And in this case, a transfer also requires an approval. So in this case, it's exactly the same use. It's just a different owner. So technically, they need to have the new owner have the registration approved by a Planning and Zoning Commission.
So because there was a transfer in ownership, they're required to file this registration, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
There's nothing else behind it.
Nope.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions? Any commissioner have any questions? You can unmute yourself. Go ahead. I don't see anyone doing that. Can we get a motion on this?
Commissioner Salka makes a motion to approve item 8E.
Motion from Commissioner Salka. Do we have a second?
Oh, go, Matt. No, go, Jim. I've been talking too much. Go.
Yeah, you have. Commissioner Macchio, I second the motion.
If he was next to you, you can tap him, you know?
Fine.
Wait.
We have a second from Commissioner Macchio. Is there any further discussion on this? Rob, do we need a roll call on this, or can we do a simple voice vote?
I think a simple voice vote's fine. It's more of an administrative item.
Okay. I don't see any further discussion, so all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I see none. Motion carries unanimously. Item 8F, release of an $8,000 maintenance bond, Glenwood Park Estates. Number 1301. Jim Grappone, it looks like everything's been satisfied on this, so.
That's correct, Mr. Chairman. This is for the maintenance bond, and they successfully passed that. The road is in good condition.
Okay. Thanks, Jim. Well, can we get a motion on this?
Commissioner Salka makes a motion to approve S1301.
Do we have a second?
Yeah, I'll second. This is Chair.
Commissioner Santiago seconded. Any further conversation?
Macchio.
He's throwing you off, Peter. That's what he's
I was
doing.
waiting for you.
Any further discussion on this? Seeing none, all those in favor, aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Voice vote, motion passes. Item 8G, release of a $4,200 E&S bond, 30 Prosperity Court, SPR 1493.3. Jim, everything satisfied on this?
Yes, this is ready for action.
Okay. Can we get a motion?
Commissioner Sokol makes a motion to approve SPR number 1497.3.
Thanks, Bob. A second?
Commissioner Macchio, I second.
There he is. Commissioner Macchio's got a second. Is there any further discussion on this? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Item 8H, release of a $12,110 public improvement bond, Kings Ridge, located at 792 South End Road, SPR number 1780. Jim Grappone, is this ready for action?
Ready for action. The drainage work as a result of the site plan has been completed.
Excellent. Do we have a motion?
Commissioner Sokol makes a motion to approve SPR number 1780.
We've got a motion from Commissioner Salka. Do we have a second? Christina, I think it's your turn.
Commissioner Gork, second.
Yes. Second from Commissioner Warwick. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Voice vote, motion carries. Item 9, an open space committee update. Commissioner Salka.
Mr. Chairman, just a quick update. As you know, open space, since 1999, the open space, we have 27 properties now on our books. When we purchased Crescent Lake back in 1999 for $2.2 million, that was really the start of what we looked at as open space. So with the 27 properties that we've either purchased or were donated, I think out of the 27, 4 of them were donated. And also for this year, we've also closed on 4 properties this year alone. We have about 3 more that have the possibility of being closed before we end in 2020. We have spent on open space the way I calculate it was about $13.1 million. Now that's through town money along with a lot of state grants. And the latest thing that we've done, the committee has approved about $5,000 to improve the old barn, the Gronsky property, to replace the roof, the old metal roof. So that's in the works. That'll be done sometime in 2020 as well. We've also done some work on the Novak property. We've installed some security work there because we've had some problems out in that area off of Flanders Road. So that's being worked on as well. So that's really just a quick update. And I think there's gonna be a lot more to come in 2020.
Yeah, you're doing a great job, Bob Salka, and everybody else who participates in that. So I don't know if anyone any commission members had any questions or comments for our representative on the Open Space Committee.
Commissioner Volpe here. I just want to commend Commissioner Salka. I really love this work that you do. I love these updates. It's fantastic. So just keep going at it. It's great.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Christina.
and definitely more of 2020 coming.
If there's one good thing to come out of 2020, maybe this is it. So not too much weight on your shoulders there, Mr. Salka, but give us some good things to look at for this year we can reflect on. So
Will do.
Yeah. Any other commission members have any comments? No, I'll say this on the Novak property. I'm glad to see that they're doing something out there. I remember a couple of years ago, I stopped by one of the abutting property owners' house and had a conversation with her on her front step. Beautiful piece of property, by the way. And she was talking to me about some of the problems that they had with people showing up there late at night, early in the morning, And I'm glad to see that some action's being taken to address that concern. And that's a beautiful piece of property out there, and we're fortunate to have it. So, as I say, keep up the good work, Bob, and we look forward to hearing from you in the future. Any administrative items, Rob, under item 10?
Not.
Okay. And under item 11, we have a small little application that looks like it's ready for a public hearing at our next meeting on September 15th.
Yeah, just a little one. That's the that's the proposal for a zone change from R40 to age-restricted cluster housing over at the Briarwood College.
Right. Okay. And any new applications under item 12?
Not at this time.
Okay. Does anyone else, any other commission member have anything else they'd like to talk to or mention at this time? Sort of leave it open-ended for you. I think this is the quickest meeting that we've had since we've gone to this format, and maybe since we've been together as a group back in November of last year. Joe Coviello looks like he wants to extend it a minute longer. No, that was a mistake.
Well, I'll take this moment to just let everybody know that, again, I apologize for the connection issues. I can't figure out what the problem is these last two meetings, but rest assured, I will stay at work for the next one and use my desktop. I won't have video, and I'll have to call in, but at least it's more reliable because it's connected physically to the internet.
And Jim Grappone does an admirable job of serving as your backup on that, I think, too.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to give him like $10 tomorrow.
Lunch will be fine, Rob.
I don't
Got a
know,
coffee in
Rob.
the
Sounds
morning.
like a training opportunity for you.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Who was that? Santiago made the motion
Yeah.
to adjourn. Do we have a second on that?
Second.
Macchio, Santiago, Macchio tandem back and forth. Any objection? Voice vote. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. We're adjourned at 9:07 p.m. Good job, guys.
Thank you. Have a night.
It's good to see you all. I can't wait to see you all in person, though. But take care.
Take
Have a
care,
good night, everyone. Bye.
Good night.